Hello, 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 everyone, and welcome back to Comic Relief, the new weekly talk show for all things comics, comic cinema adaptations, and anything else that makes you want to get down and nerdy tonight. We are your nerds. I'm Xndr.
And I'm Jagger.
And welcome to Comic Relief. Tonight, we are going to be talking about Falcon and the Winter Soldier, episodes 1 and 2. There's actually quite a bit to dissect.
There are a lot of little tiny Easter eggs that they threw in there.
My biggest thing with it was it showcases a lot of deeper Marvel history, especially with episode 2.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Episode 2 like unlocks the door to so much. Red, yeah. welcome. Jackson, welcome. So what do you want to start off with tonight?
Let's start with we'll just kind of dive right into episode 1. I mean, the first character we're introduced to besides one of the main characters is Joaquin Torres.
Yeah, Joaquin Torres is also known as the next Falcon, basically.
The next Falcon. Currently, he is Sam Wilson's like handler, I guess would be the proper terminology for him. He's like his eyes on the ground. Because the show basically opens up with Falcon on a mission with, I guess, the U.S. government, because he's apparently working for the Army at this point, Army or Air Force, which, and Joaquin Torres is his eyes on the ground. So it's very interesting to see how many people are catching the fact that he's the next Falcon. So that leads me to believe that they're gonna eventually bring Sam up as Captain America and have Joaquin be the next Falcon.
Yeah, no, I think they could definitely go that route, especially since we already know that. So just background knowledge. Joaquin Torres's Falcon was actually a part of an experiment that fused him and Red Wing, which in the comic books was an actual Falcon.
Right.
However, in this, it's just tech. But they could still go that route in the sense where, let's say he's a mutant, because we know we're going to Madripoor.
Right.
We know that we have the rights to mutants now. So.
Right. So I think that's going to be one of their opening doors to mutants is going to be Joaquin Torres.
Yeah, they could easily change that up, which I'm totally for.
Oh yeah, I'm absolutely for it. I mean, they've changed enough now that changing more is not going to hurt it, especially when it comes to Sam Wilson, because they haven't really given a lot of attention to the Falcon yet.
Right.
He's kind of just been like the comic relief and the background person to Captain America for the longest time. He's been the sidekick, and now he's the focal point. Like, it's like, okay, this is Sam's struggle. This is him coping. Oops, sorry about that. Him coping with the fact that he no longer has Steve. He no longer has his best friend. His support group is basically just Steve Rogers and a little bit of Bucky. But when the show starts off, Bucky's not around.
Right.
The two are very separate entities in the first episode. Bucky has his storyline and Sam has his storyline, which I like, because it's like, it doesn't feel as buddy cop as I thought it would be.
Right.
It definitely dives into like the deeper effect that all the
it establishes them as their own characters, fully fledged out characters.
It also goes into like the deeper effect that everything that happened with Endgame and the blip and all that stuff had on them as regular ass people. I mean, yeah, Bucky's technically a super soldier, but deep down he's a regular ass person.
Yeah.
So I don't know, it's kind of interesting to see him suffering from, like, he's finally dealing with the PTSD he has from his time as the Winter Soldier, and he basically has to deal with all that on his own because he's not talking to anybody else.
Yeah, it's really good to see, kind of, because on the surface, when it comes to these comic book shows and stuff like that, we're all, you know, we all know the fantasy element of it, you know, superheroes, you know, superpowers, all this other stuff, but that's where it pulls in the more grounded audience, where it's like it shows real humanity to these superpowered characters, because at the end of the day, they're just like us, that's one thing that I find refreshing, because back in the day when superhero movies were first coming about, they focused heavily on action most of the time.
Yeah.
And even in the early days of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, there's a big focus on the action, but they started to realize, okay, let's start opening the door to fully fledged out characters. Let's show some humanity to these characters. Let's find something that we can connect the audience to.
Especially with the non-mystical characters, like the ones that don't have powers from the Infinity Stones, or they're not magical beings or whatever. They're basically just soldiers at this point.
Right. And I think it was a very realistic take on it too. Despite the whole scene where he's like, he did that whole thing with the car and all that shit.
Yeah.
But the realistic take on, confronting your whatever is actually bothering you, because like at the end of the day, if you don't actually take the steps, like I mean this is something that I personally deal with, that's why it kind of resonated with me so much, was that if you don't actually do anything to actually confront the issues that are bothering you, like he has his list of people that he has either hurt or wronged or any of that, and he's actually going out and confronting them, saying, hey, listen, I'm sorry, I'm trying to make amends, blah blah blah. That is a very real struggle.
Especially on his scale, because I mean he was a brainwashed assassin. Like he had no control over the things that he was doing. And like as the Winter Soldier, he basically feels like that time of his life was robbed from him. Because he didn't know what he was doing. Hydra had such a control over his mind that he was just doing everything that he was told to do because the way it was.
Yeah.
He didn't have Steve there to be like, hey dude, wake up. Like, that's not who you are. So
yeah, Mormon in chat brings up a good thing right here. The Steve was wrong, the part in episode 2. The Steve was wrong thing is something people deal with all the time. People can tell you you're great and that they love you all the time, but it takes just one bad day, one bad interaction, and you're convinced everyone is wrong again. Yeah, that is.
Yeah, that scene with Bucky hit me hard when he was talking to Sam about giving up the shield, and it says, if Steve was wrong about you, then he was wrong about me, and I can't handle that. I feel that greatly. Yeah,
that was a very powerful scene for me too.
The show itself, like even in the first 2 episodes, is dealing with a lot of like real issues, mental health, racial profiling. It's PTSD. It's insane.
Yeah.
How deep the show is going for being supposedly like they presented it as this buddy cop kind of show, where it's like, oh, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, they're teaming up and they're gonna fight bad guys together. It's like, no, they're dealing with some real shit.
Yeah, that's why at first I think we brushed on this in the previous episode, where when I first saw Falcon and Winter Soldier, like they released a trailer and everything, I'm just like, okay, yeah, it's cool and all, but story-wise, I'm just like, I guess. I wasn't really sold on it, I guess. But after watching these first 2 episodes, I'm like, this is really good, because it actually has very strongly written storyline.
Yes, it does, and it touches a lot on the real world effects that we don't really think about. Like, I know I didn't think about it up until this point. Like, when Sam goes with his sister to try to get a loan from the bank, they're like, oh, well, you're an Avenger, aren't you rich? And he's like, no, we're just people. We save the world. We don't get paid for that. We're just kind of like, it's like room and board, and we eat when we want to. But like, Tony Stark didn't pay you? It's like, no. Like, superheroes are broke. They don't have money. They don't go to work and feel a job.
I feel like your music is kind of loud. Oh, thank you. Let me go ahead and turn that down.
Like, it humanizes heroes a lot. Just with that one scene where they're talking about they're not collecting a paycheck, they're not getting like a government stipend or anything like that. It's like, yeah, they lived at the compound, and yeah, they had food for them, but it's not like they have money just sitting in a bank account for saving the world. They're not mercenaries, they're heroes. They do this on their own.
Because ultimately you have to think of it like charity work. Yeah. Non-profit. That's all it really is. Yo, Shona, thank you so much for the raid. How's it going, guys?
Welcome everybody.
But yeah, no. It is, on one hand, it is kind of funny to think that Tony Stark didn't actually take the time to, like divvy out, like, okay, so you're getting this, you're getting this, you're getting this, you're getting this for doing all this work. Because frankly, like, I understand that Tony Stark, he's a multi-billionaire and he could have done that, but at the same time, that's not on the forefront of his mind. On the forefront of his mind is, what do we need to do to, protect the people? What do we need to do to protect these people? And paying everyone was not, he probably would have thought of that in hindsight, but he kind of died. But
to kind of play the other side of that, it's like he was using his money that he was getting from the company to fund the Avengers compound. Like, I mean, the suit upgrades he paid for, the tech that they needed, because after Captain America: The Winter Soldier, SHIELD wasn't a thing. They were no longer sponsored by the government. It was Stark who was funding everything. All of their maintenance, their food, their room and board, basically. All that came out of Tony Stark's pocket. So it's very much like if you were a kid that didn't get an allowance, you ask your parents, how come I don't get an allowance? It's like, well, your allowance is the food that you're eating, the roof over your head, your clothes, the things that you need. Like, it's very much that kind of parental role that Tony took for them. And nobody really talked about it up until this show, because they were so focused on the greater threat. It's not an issue that people are thinking about. Like you said, it's not at the forefront of their minds, like making money, having a job, paying bills and things like that, because that stuff was taken care of, because they were so busy trying to figure out, okay, what are we doing about Thanos? How are we going to get everybody back? We have to deal with the universe collapsing, essentially. Yeah.
Like, I don't want to like necessarily compare what I did at my previous unit to actually like saving the world and shit, but it's a very real thing when you're in a line of work that is life or death. It requires your every waking moment. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, in that scenario, you're not thinking about anything else except getting the mission done. Like, there are a lot, and that's why they say, like, in that line of work, they say try and make sure everything at home is still, is okay and good. That way that it's not weighing on your mind when you go out, because when you go out, you can't be thinking about anything else. You can only be thinking about the mission. And that's what happened here. They're only thinking about saving the world. They're not thinking about, oh, are we getting paid for this? Like, like Hawkeye over there. Listen, I shot like 57 Chitauri. All right, I should get at least $7 per shot or some shit. I don't know.
Oh, I was thinking way higher than that.
I know. I'm lowballing here, but still, like, you get the idea.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, they basically bring that as a major issue here. Well, not major issue, but it's a real issue for them, because they're very human. They can't just, they're not like Thor, where they could just swing a hammer and go back off to Asgard and everything's hunky dory, where money's not a thing. They're in the real world, and this show and the next few topics we talk about may get a little controversial, but they're touchy subjects. They're living in America. The show is shining a light on how the American system works and how messed up it really is.
Yeah.
Like,
one thing before we get into that too is I want to touch on the fact that and we'll get more into it with when we talk about the main antagonists in this series, but everyone was gone for 5 years.
Yep.
So you have to think a lot of these systems that were in place, like the U.S. government, the U.S. Treasury, which, I mean, I know I have some UK viewers right now, but I speak U.S. because it takes place in the U.S. All these different government systems were pretty much non-existent at this point.
Yep. Nothing ran for 5 years.
Yeah, nothing ran for 5 years, and now with everyone coming back, they have all these different laws set in place. Like even the banker said that, you know, now that with everyone coming back, things had to kind of tighten up a bit, because they're basically they're in the same boat in the sense that, well, what the fuck do we do? Like they're trying to scramble, trying to figure out how to get things back in order. Real quick, Shona, big Falcon and Winter Soldier fan. Interesting talk. I'll be lurking while I'm off to bed, but Ellie guided the raid. Have a fab stream. Oh, thank you so much. Thanks again for the raid. I appreciate that. But before we get into anything else crazy, there is a sensitive topic warning, I will say, because it does touch on some things that hit close to home for a lot of people.
Quite literally for me, actually.
Yeah. Well, yeah. As soon as I saw Baltimore, Maryland, I was like, yo.
I was like, talk about home right there.
It was funny too, because like some of the, like that first interaction with like the kids on the street. Mm-hmm. The first thing I said was, "Welcome to Baltimore."
Yeah, I was like, "Well, that's accurate. At least they're accurate there." And then, okay, so we'll kind of go over the scene a little bit, because we need to cover it. It's an important part of the show.
It is a very important part, not just for the show, but for Marvel in general. I feel
I give Marvel a lot of credit for this one, for sure. Between one, bringing in a lot of comic lore within one scene, and then two, touching on such a prevalent social topic and political topic. Mm-hmm. So Bucky and Sam finally unite after after the government announces that they've replaced Captain America with a soldier who has like this perfect track record. Right. And he's basically the epitome of white privilege in America. Mm-hmm. So Bucky confronts Sam about why'd you give up the shield, blah, 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 and talks about some stuff from the past. And he says, okay, I need to take you to meet somebody. So he brings him to the house of Isaiah Bradley, who's living in Baltimore, Maryland. Isaiah Bradley was the Black Captain America, but he was basically kept in prison and experimented on for years and never got the credit that he was supposed to be given, because he was such an unstable experiment, supposedly. But it basically touches on the fact that because he was the only black super soldier, he was never going to get the same credit that Steve Rogers did, because Steve Rogers was your pure-blooded, blonde-haired, blue-eyed American. Like, he was the everyman, the man that you wanted to put on the posters. So they touch on that. That and the fact that they brought Isaiah Bradley in as a character alone was really surprising to me, and really cool, because that's some interesting comic book history that you don't see a lot. And then once they exit the house, Sam then gets racially profiled by Baltimore police. They literally walk out of the house. He's talking with Bucky. Two cops pull up and hold him at gunpoint and say, hey, is this man bothering you? And then another cop comes up and says, hey, do you know who that is? They're Avengers. Back off. And he's like, oh, crap. You're Sam Wilson. You're the Falcon. Yeah. And it's at that point when they let him go. And it's like that kind of thing happens way more often to regular people than you think. Like, if the one cop had not recognized him as Sam Wilson, the Falcon, they probably would have had him in cuffs on the hood of that car.
Absolutely.
And it's sad, because realistically, if you look at the situation objectively, between the two people, Bucky's actually the bigger danger in that situation. He's the actual super soldier. He's the actual one that could literally rip you in half, basically, if he wanted to. And Sam's just a regular dude with wings, mechanical wings, which he doesn't even have on him.
Yeah.
He
is a skilled fighter, though. I will give him that.
True. But against cops with guns, he's just a man at that point.
Mormon brings up a good point that the boy that let him in was is Isaiah's grandson, Eli Bradley, also known as Patriot from the Young Avengers. We'll touch on that in a second. I do want to kind of like touch on, so you kind of gave a recap of that scene. I do want to touch on a few points there. So they show up, and Isaiah Bradley, also known as the Black Captain America from the comics, they touch on, and I can't remember what it was in actual U.S. history, I remember the details of it. I just don't remember the name of the experiment. But essentially, what happened way back when was the U.S. government actually conducted an experiment that gave African Americans a placebo. Basically, they're telling them that this was a cure to some form of cancer or something like that. But in actuality, the U.S. government was running a test to see basically the course of this cancer. They were just tracking the course of this cancer. So basically using African American people as guinea pigs.
Yeah.
Test like lab rats.
Yes.
It is a very dark point in U.S. history. And obviously something that no one ever really wants to mention, but it happened. That being said, Marvel in the comics world, oh shit, that scared the shit out of me. Sorry, there's a stink bug that just flew right up to my fucking monitor. It's like sitting on my phone right now. I'll take care of that in a second. But no, so Marvel Comics basically took that and kind of formed it around this idea of the U.S. government doing the same thing, but with a experimental form of the superhero serum or super soldier serum. And Isaiah Bradley was the one and only like successful test subject, supposedly. And so he went off and he was basically the new Captain America while Captain America was frozen elsewhere. He was out on the front lines, you know, in this case in the MCU during the Gulf War. And as a thank you, they put him in prison. Because it's assumed that because he was African American and he was given all this power, the U.S. government couldn't trust him or some shit. And then all during that, he had, you know, people testing him from the U.S. government, from Hydra, all these different people, all these different walks of life, like testing him, like I said, like a fucking lab rat. Don't look at me. Oh shit! Fuck. Look at the stink bug.
Are you staring down the stink bug?
No, the stink bug was staring me down. Holy shit! It turned around and looked at me, and I'm like, "Don't you fucking do anything!" And he like popped up and flew for a bit and dropped down. I might actually have to do something about this real quick. Hold on, I hate to do this in the middle of a recording, but this thing's got to go. I'll be right back. Sure. Hold on. Entertain them.
I will attempt to entertain them. I was looking back at the episode, the scene with Isaiah Bradley, and he doesn't actually mention the experiment by name, but he talks about how he was put in jail for 30 years. Mormon, they literally arrested him for stealing a Captain America costume that he used to do Captain America type stuff. Yeah, they put him in jail for 30 years for that.
Okay, I can't grab you right there. There we go.
But yeah, it's a very interesting part of
Marvel Comics you in that history. Toilet paper. I'm not killing him. I'm not killing him. Okay, I killed him.
All
right. I'm back. We're good. Yes. I killed a stink bug live.
You unalived live.
Ooh, what is that from? That's from the Spider-Man series, the Disney Spider-Man series when they brought in Deadpool. Yeah, there he is. Mormon's on it. Deadpool. All right, so where were we at? We're talking Isaiah Bradley.
We were just finishing up Isaiah Bradley, kind of going into Eli Bradley and the building of the Young Avengers.
Yep. So obviously we covered the history. We covered the history of that. So we get to Isaiah Bradley. Isaiah Bradley's he doesn't want any part of it. He's already fed up because he, like I said, he had people testing him for 30 years basically when he was in prison. And so he has them storm out, and then we get to Sam, who is furious. He's furious because
no one told him.
Yeah, he like this guy was a secret. And a big reason behind that is because not necessarily on Bucky's part, but on as a whole, he was kept a secret because it highlights a very dark point in U.S. history that the U.S. government is ashamed of. Almost similar to how in Thor Ragnarok, we're shown that the building of Asgard was not through peace. Hela, she tore down that ceiling, and it shows the painting of how Odin originally ruled with an iron fist and took over worlds, basically. It wasn't until, I'm assuming, he got too old of age to really care about death and destruction. And but it's kind of along those lines. And then to what Mormon brought up, that Eli Bradley, the kid that let them in, he is very well known as the Patriot, who is a member of the Young Avengers. So we have, at this point now, we have
5 now, right?
We have, well, from what we've seen so far, we have Wiccan, we have Speed, we have Patriot now. We know that Miss Marvel is in development. We also know that Hawkeye with Kate Bishop is in development, and then Cassie Lang.
So we have 6.
Yep.
So that's like the whole. That's a whole team right there.
That's a full fucking team. I have heard rumors that there's potential for Hulkling to show up at some point,
because they were developing the She-Hulk film or show, right?
Well, Hulkling is more, I feel, related to potentially the Secret Invasion.
Oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense too.
Because he's half Kree, half Skrull.
Right.
So.
Right.
But yeah, no, they are definitely setting the groundwork for Young Avengers. Like at this point, it's a given. Captain Marvel. Ooh, fantastic.
They've been teasing Fantastic Four for years.
I mean, they have the official logo up and everything.
Yeah, but they don't have any like production schedule or casting or anything like that done yet.
Yeah. But moving on from Isaiah Bradley.
While we're kind of on the sensitive topics thing, let's talk about the new Captain America.
Oh yes, John Walker.
John Walker, Mr. As the internet is now calling him, Captain White Privilege. Which I sort of agree with the name. I mean, the way he carries himself and the way they kind of present him, it's very much like how different society sees people, or the government sees people at least. And they're presenting John Walker, who's honestly just a normal ass soldier in a suit with a shield and a gun.
Not necessarily normal ass. He did receive 3 medals of honor.
Right. So like he's an exemplary soldier. He's an exemplary soldier. We'll say that, but he's not like Steve Rogers or Bucky. He's not. They're not super soldiers.
Yet.
But you kind of see the difference between how John Walker carries himself on a mission and how Steve would have carried himself on a mission. John Walker is very quick to charge in there, guns blazing, literally, and shoot people. And he gets very aggressive when the things don't go his way. And you can see how he may slowly start shifting away from the Captain America title to the U.S. Agent title, where he's a lot more like we had covered in our preview episode. He's a lot more hardcore and a lot less hero.
Right.
You know what I mean?
It is very clear that he has an anger issue.
Yes.
From that final scene, that interaction between Buck and Falcon and the new Captain America and Battlestar.
Which I hate that name, by the way.
Oh yeah, I immediately thought Battlestar Galactica.
The Battlestar Galactica.
But in that final thing, Bucky notices. He notices that this guy, he's a fucking soldier. All right, he's seen some shit. All right, he's on edge. All right. Also, at the same time, being someone who is who is an active duty member of the armed forces, I know when someone is salty. They've seen some shit. All right, and all they know is the mission. John Walker is that guy. Yeah. All right, he doesn't want to be all fucking cameras and fanfare and all this bullshit. All right, he just wants to get the mission done. All right, and this is weighing on him. Being all like waving to the public, kissing your baby, all that stuff. That is not him, and he can only do it for so long.
Yeah, I like Mormon's point. He said they made an amazing job with John Walker because U.S. Agent was literally created to be a foil to Captain America. He's like the polar opposite of him. Steve was about America, freedom, justice, that kind of thing, and John is more about the government / his handlers, the mission, as you were saying. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I can see this playing out to where our theories in the beginning were right, where John Walker ends up being U.S. Agent, Sam ends up being Cap, and then they make Torres the new Falcon, and they also name dropped for Bucky. Instead of somebody called him the Winter Soldier, he said it's actually the White Wolf.
Or they said White Panther.
Oh yeah, they said White Panther. Said actually it's White Wolf. So
yeah,
I think he'll end up going by that name.
Thanks for carrying on, because Jackie stopped in real quick and I threw my mind off track. So real quick, just to backtrack before I lose my train of thought. So with John Walker already exhibiting his aggressive side towards the end there, where Bucky was like, things are getting really intense for you, huh? And then he was just like, oh, because like Bucky caught on, and this is something that I saw. Bucky caught on to John Walker's persona and immediately starts raising his voice at him.
Yeah.
Like that quick interaction, you see Bucky starting to raise his voice, trying to push his buttons in a way, kind of like up the ante. Like so if you know anything about boot camp, boot camp is just a bunch of guys just yelling at you all the entire fucking time. So just like that, it kicks in that adrenaline. You're just like, oh fuck, that sense of urgency. So Buck was doing that, and all of a sudden you can see in John Walker just shit's firing in his brain right now. Yeah. Like he wants to fucking go. And so from that carried on with what we can touch on here in a second with the kind of main antagonist right now. I think he's going to reach a point where he realizes what he's up against and he is not cut out for it. So he's going to find a way to utilize what the Flag Smashers are using, this group of super soldiers.
Yep.
And he's going to use that on himself.
I think you're right. I can 100% see that happening.
And then further on, he just gives into his aggression and then becomes U.S. Agent. He's done with this fucking Captain America bullshit. He's gonna do things his way.
Yeah.
Real quick. They made an amazing job doing it because U.S. Agent was literally created to be a foil to Captain America. Yep. Steve is about America. John is about government and his handlers. They hated the name when they made Battlestar 2. They had to change his name from Bucky because there's racial connotations in it. Battlestar was sadly the best of the worst in their okay.
Yeah, it's a bad name, and I think he's gonna end up being a very forgettable character by the end of things.
See, Mormon says, do you want to keep the term power broker to what the show has done, or have you talked about his connections to? So we're gonna touch on the power brokers apparently, so I've watched a couple of videos on this, and some were referring to it as the power brokers. From what I heard, I think it was power broker 'S, because as the Flag Smashers they're boarding this plane, they realize that they've been found, and they're like, we have no time. It's the power brokers men. A lot of people are saying that power brokers was supposed to be like plural, like it was like an organization. That I think is false. I think they're actually, I think it's actually the power broker. which essentially, in a nutshell, in the comic books, the power broker is who gives the U.S. agent his superpowers, as well as countless others in the comic books. He basically has a stockpile of the super soldier serum and like other shit, and then gives people powers, enhances their current powers, that kind of shit. So I think that also kind of adds to my speculation that U.S. agent John Walker is gonna get his powers from the power broker. Either that, or he's gonna steal some of it.
Right. I can see him going through Carly Morgenthau in this regard, because they haven't introduced the power broker as an actual character yet, or shed light on what that's actually going to be. We are introduced to Carly Morgenthau as an actual character, though, which I thought was a very nice touch to the character, because in the comics, Flag Smasher is Carl Morgenthau. So the organization is called the terrorist organization is called the Flag Smashers. So I'm wondering,
and their leader is basically so it's kind of unclear as to who the real leader is, in my opinion.
It seems that they're looking more towards Carly, though.
Yeah, it looks as though, for some reason, I might just have to go through and watch them again. It looks as though that the Flag Smashers are kind of like, there's like the core group, and then there is the followers.
Yeah.
So the core group is actually like probably led by Carly, whereas there's like this other group where like they're just making noise, because like in that first episode, everyone was like, oh, this guy must be the leader of the Flag Smashers because he's super powered. But then you see all these other super powered folk in episode 2.
So maybe they have like a band of successful super soldiers run by Carly, because they put a lot of focus on Carly in episode 2. Like, she was viewed as the stowaway on the truck, and then she's just this badass with super soldier powers. And then they put a lot of focus on when they're wiping their aliases from the web. They put a big highlight on Carly Morgenthau. We don't know if that's kind of red herring, where they're just like, let's see if the comic fans catch this one.
Yeah. Which is it's kind of funny that they it's kind of funny that they did that, because the moment, anytime, even from the very beginning, the moment anytime someone is mentioned by first and last name, if I don't already know it, I'm immediately going to Google and putting in that name, and then having Marvel right after it.
I 100% did that for all of Bucky's list. I did that with every name on Bucky's Amends list. I was like, I'm writing all these down that I could see. I already know that one. Baron Zemo's on it. I Googled every name, and there are some connections to some of them. Some of them are just names of like production assistants that were on the show. So giving them their credit where credit's due, I guess.
That was pretty cool.
Yeah, it was a neat little touch there. Some of them have some other meeting that I think is gonna come into play later on. But yeah, I do think that they're gonna start shifting a little bit more focus to Carly Morgenthau as the Flag Smasher, because I feel like as things go on, something's gonna happen to these other super soldiers, and they're gonna dwindle down, and they're gonna have. And she's
gonna have to take point.
Yes, that's how I feel it's gonna play out.
Mormon says he thinks that John and Lamar already have their abilities. I don't think so. I think if they already had their abilities, they would have done a lot more work up against the Flag Smashers in that fight scene.
Because think about it this way: if John and Lamar had their abilities, that would be 3 super soldiers plus Falcon against the was it three of them, 3 or 4 of them, I think, that they were fighting.
Mormon says, look at how Bucky did against them, though. So this is my argument. My argument is, there are moments where you see Bucky one-on-one, and then immediately the one-on-one fight, one person gets to the upper hand, and then the others rush him. Yeah. So he's being outnumbered. Yeah. Whereas there have been plenty of one-on-one fights shown with John and one of the Flag Smashers, and he's still getting his ass hit, handed to him. So that's my argument to that. Yeah, which is why he pulled out the gun. Which I will state this: anyone out there that says that's not my Cap, Cap doesn't use guns, rewatch Captain America: The First Avenger.
Please do.
Rewatch it.
I don't know how many times. The literal first scene they show in the original trailer is Cap kicking down the door, shield in one hand, firing a gun.
Yep.
Like, don't be that fan. Don't be that guy that's like, it's not my Cap.
I just saw that immediately, and I was just like, really? That's why he's not your Cap? He's not my Cap because he looks like the fucking grandpa from Up in the mask.
Now you can't hold my shield, please. I'm just expecting the dog to come out of nowhere.
Right.
This is Capo, the super dog.
Oh my god. They might be trying to hide how they did because John is wielding that shield in amazing fashion, comic-wise. Normal folks just can't do that. That is fair. That is fair, but at the same time, Sam can. Or at least we'll see that later on in the show. But we've seen it in the trailers. So it might be the case that they change it to where the shield is lighter than it looks.
Well, the thing is they describe it in Captain America: The First Avenger as the perfect aerodynamic weapon. And basically, because of the way vibranium works and the way the shield was designed, it's basically designed to go back exactly where it came from if you hit it right. And if they showed, and the clips they showed were all like news clips, so they're not going to show John Walker sucking with the shield. They're going to pick the best clip and be like, yeah, this is him using the shield, and he bounced it off 3 trees and it came back to him. Cool. That's in a training ground. I still think he sucks as Captain America regardless.
It's like when you see those videos of trick shots and you're like, oh, that was dope, but then all of a sudden you see all the other missed ping pong balls like scattered around the floor.
It's like hundreds of tricks, hundreds of outtakes to get that one perfect shot for your video.
I will say though, he that was quick thinking and a good shot when he helped out Battlestar when Battlestar got knocked off the freight truck. He tossed the shield so that it would catch Battlestar.
Yeah, that was.
I'm gonna see the blooper reel where he takes it in the face.
Oh please, I want that. Somebody post that to TikTok. It's just
that'd be hilarious.
John Walker getting blammed in the face by a vibranium shield.
Oh my god, that'd be hilarious.
It would be.
Let's backtrack a little bit here. So after the interaction with John Walker, they're going their separate ways because John Walker sits there and he says, "Stay the hell out of my way." Because they mentioned that we're free agents and it doesn't make sense for us to work together. So they're going off, and it almost seems as if when they told him that, it was kind of like they were like bluffing at poker, because they're like, well shit, now that we told him that, can't necessarily use him as information, because he has access to the US government, to which they don't. And he can get certain information that they probably couldn't right now. So they're like, okay, well, what now? And so Bucky recounts what Isaiah Bradley said by saying that the U.S. government, your people, they're all doing experiments on me. By your people, he means Hydra. Yeah. And who's the only person around right now that knows the most about Hydra? Baron Zemo. And then it cuts to, which I thought that was wild. I thought he was already gonna be out. I didn't think we're gonna have a fucking breakout scene.
So I think what they're gonna say is that when the blip happened, he was one of the ones in the half that made it. So he probably stayed locked up because he made it through the blip. Now, I mean, they say that like a lot of the main characters got blipped out, but I think Zemo is going to be one of those people that was like, he had to stay in his cell for 5 years with only a few guards or whatever, or no guards. So I'm curious to see how they're going to explain that, or if he blipped out and then
blipped back into the cell.
Yeah, like that would suck for him.
Oh my god, imagine being blipped out and then blipped back.
It's like finally bliss, you come back and it's like, I'm back. Ah, shit, I'm back.
Yep. But this is going to be interesting because Zemo's probably going to make a play for like, okay, well, I have information that you need. I want to get the fuck out of here. Yep. So what are you going to do?
I think we're going to have a prison break scene.
We're gonna have a prison break, and I'm excited for that. I'm
very
actually
excited.
really excited for that.
I'm very excited to see Zemo back in action because the actor that plays Zemo,
Daniel Bruhl, yes,
pretty great.
I love him.
Pretty great. So I'm excited to see him and some of his dialogue with Sam and Bucky. Like, it's gonna be great. I'm excited.
I want the purple mask. Yes, we're finally getting the purple mask. We're getting the fucking coat with the fur-lined coat. It's gonna be amazing, and I love it. I really want to see how they explain the mask too. Obviously, it might just be, you know, like to conceal his identity because they are breaking him out. That's probably a way to conceal his identity so he doesn't get caught by the U.S. government or whoever's, you know, keeping him locked up. I want to say, was he? They never confirmed whether or not he's locked up in the raft, did they?
They never said exactly where he is. I think they'll go into that in episode 3.
Yeah. But that I'm really excited for.
Yeah, I'm excited to see where they take Zemo's story.
Which we don't have to wait too much longer to see because it's gonna be this Friday. Which I'm probably gonna try and watch it as soon as I get off work.
I will have already watched it, I'm sure.
Oh my god.
It's my Friday morning thing.
It's the pain. I hate that. My job requires me to be at work so early. Otherwise, I'd probably like Thursday night go to bed at like 8 and then wake up at like 3 in the morning. Yeah.
Watch it, then go to work.
Also, I hope that this leads to a Masters of Evil at some point. Ooh.
Be interesting.
That would be cool. I think the way that they're gonna go about it, though, they probably won't go Masters of Evil because they are, like I said, they are feeling much more grounded. I think they might do something where they combine the idea of the Masters of Evil and the Thunderbolts.
That would be cool.
Or even the Dark Avengers.
Yeah, that'd be neat too.
So we have Executioner and Zemo already. I thought Executioner died with Asgard.
Yeah, he did. He stayed on Asgard. Huh. I don't know. They'll probably.
He died, but he's done that a lot.
Yeah, they'll find a way to retcon it, I'm sure.
Yeah. That would be interesting to see.
If they decide to go that route.
Yeah. Yeah, that's do you have any other thoughts on episodes 1 and 2?
Just a few small little like Easter egg thing I caught was that in the ending credits, each episode the ending credits are different. So different names are brought in, and some of them are declassified names. If you look at the still shots, they show a few images. Like they had Zemo's mask in episode 1, but the actor's name wasn't listed, and he was listed in episode 2. A couple of the declassified files, if you go like frame by frame and you catch them, you see some interesting messages in there, and one of them does point to Madripoor as an actual location. So I think we're right.
So that's confirmed.
I think Xandr was right on that one, that we're going to be going to Madripoor, and I think we're going to get a look into how they're going to explain mutants.
That's going to be amazing. I'm excited for that one. Amazing.
I'm very excited. So it doesn't have a whole lot of Easter eggs right now. Most of them are pretty in your face as long as you know the comic history, like Eli Bradley, Isaiah Bradley, Flag Smasher, stuff like that. And then there are people out there who do go frame by frame of every show and every episode and find every little thing. We're not
every little Mephisto.
Every little Mephisto. We are not that kind of show. We have real lives and things. So we kind of look at this very objectively as fans, as nerds. So
as nerds.
But I did.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
Ain't nobody got time for that. But I did catch the Madripoor thing. I saw it out of the corner of my eye, and I'm like, he was right. I did the whole Leo thing.
Yep. I did the Leo thing with Isaiah Bradley when they said his name and everything. I was like, shit.
Yep. But I did the same thing. I did it when I saw Carly Morgenthau on screen. I was like, Flag Smasher. I was very, very hyped for that one. And
the Flag Smasher is a low key character for me, so I wasn't very familiar with that one.
Yeah, I knew Flag Smasher pretty well. The few arcs of Captain America that I did read, Flag Smasher was pretty prevalent in it.
Okay.
So, What about you? Final thoughts?
Final thoughts. I think so. In comparison, if we were to compare this to WandaVision, much more grounded, much more realistic, much more standard Marvel. In that aspect. The difference is with WandaVision, each week, I was super excited because I was like, what the fuck's gonna happen this time? Was this one? I'm more excited to see. Well, okay, what are they gonna bring up now? Whereas, like I said, WandaVision was just like twists and turns and all this crazy shit happening. This one is just more like, okay, this is gonna be essentially exposition for the Marvel universe. This is gonna be setting up like the little name drops here and there, the little like what they have planned for the future. That's what excites me the most. Much longer episodes makes it easier to tell a more cohesive story. So that's why it feels a little slower than WandaVision in a sense, but at the same time we got the first 2 episodes first in WandaVision, and from there the first like 3-4 episodes was kind of a slow burn anyway.
Yeah, we didn't really get much story basis until episode 4.
Yeah,
I like the fact that they're kind of jumping into the story a little bit more directly here. They're very much like, okay, this is what we're doing. Here's where we go. Hop on board. Pay attention, and here we go.
Yeah.
So I think we're gonna get a much more rounded story in this, and I think depending on how they do it, this is a show that could potentially have multiple seasons.
Absolutely.
So I think they could totally
see that. I could see U.S. Agent being like a pain in their ass.
Yeah.
And he keeps coming up as a villain, or even go the route where Baron Zemo did his part and helped them get the information that they wanted. Now he's gonna go ahead and run amok in season 2. Or some shit like that, you know?
Well, I can see them using this as like their time gap filler, like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was supposed to be.
Right.
To where they come back to Sam Wilson and Bucky Barnes as characters that you can kind of keep grounded and flesh out the show and the universe while they're on breaks from main blockbuster movies. So like as phases progress and end, they can use this show as kind of like, okay, here's the real world repercussions of what just happened with the Multiverse of Madness. Could be after season 2, or they can show how some of the movies are affecting the real world, because Sam and Bucky may not be in those movies, but the world is still continuing, and the real world is going to be affected by whatever's happening in these big movies.
Let's see, Reddit says, I'm pretty sure Disney stated that they're making all these shows one-offs. And that's not true. They came out recently with, excuse me, within the last couple months or so, where they said some of these shows will have follow-up seasons.
Yes, they have.
I think that was directly from. I think that was directly from Kevin Feige.
Like I know WandaVision was a very open and shut thing. They'd had to create an entirely new show for just Wanda. To just be Scarlet Witch. Falcon and Winter Soldier, they could probably rehash as a Captain America show, or they just transition it into new Captain America movies with Sam as Cap.
Which I would really like to see Sam taking up the mantle of Captain America, which I honestly feel like that's the route that they're gonna go.
I think that's the end game here. Like they're gearing Sam up to be ready, because at the end of Endgame he wasn't ready. He wasn't in the right mental state for it. He was now having to deal with a world without his best friend, a world without Captain America. They basically present Sam as one of those guys that's like, Steve thinks you're ready, but he knows he's not ready and he doesn't deserve it. And I think this show is going to progress his character to the point where he's like, okay, maybe I do deserve it. I have stuff I need to work on, but I can be Captain America better than John Walker was. So let me do what Steve wanted and be the next symbol for the world.
Let's see here. If Falcon and Winter Soldier continues at this pace, at least I'd like to see more. Yeah, same. Endgame, we need a duck buzzer for the comments.
Buzz every time I say Endgame. Buzz every time I say comic relief, because I say it at least once without realizing it every episode.
Yeah, I think the closest thing I have right now is my oh shit button.
Oh shit! Oh shit! Not sure if you spoke about this, but do either of you think Sam needs a strength boost of some sort?
I don't think so.
I think he could use one, but he doesn't need one.
Yeah, he could definitely use one, but I don't think he needs one, especially like if like in the comic books he combines like his wingsuit with the shield.
Yeah.
And his whole skill set. I think he's definitely like on par with like how Hawkeye, he has no special abilities whatsoever. He's just really fucking good at what he does.
Exactly. And I think he's wingsuit, Red Wing, and his abilities as a fighter and a pilot basically, plus the shield. And once he practices with the shield, he can learn how to use both all at the same time. Like he'd be a great Captain America. He wouldn't be like the Cap that everybody wants. They want another Steve Rogers, but they're not going to get that. That's not what they need right now. The age of the age of Steve Rogers is over.
He's not the hero that they want, but the hero that they need.
I'm Captain America.
Hey, what happened to your voice, Sam?
What? What are you talking about?
Nothing. Nothing wrong with my voice. You're making your voice deeper. No, I'm not.
All right. Well, I think that about wraps up tonight's episode of Comic Relief here. Now, so I don't think we actually solidified our plan for next week. I know that we want to cover episode 3.
Yes.
But we have also talked about touching on a couple of other subjects as well.
Yeah, we talked about bringing in comic book news because there's a lot of stuff going on in comic books right now. I know you said you wanted to talk about that show Invincible, which I still need to watch.
Yes, Invincible. If anyone here has not watched it yet, Amazon Prime has a really awesome cartoon for Invincible, which is it's based off a comic written by the same guy that wrote The Walking Dead.
Yeah.
Absolutely phenomenal. The first 3 episodes are out right now. Incredibly violent, Red. Incredibly violent. You don't get that until the end of episode 1, and then the start of episode 2 is just like, oh hey, by the way, remember the ending of episode 1? Yeah, this is gonna be a normal thing. But the writing was great. I absolutely enjoyed it. Already some big. Oh, so Mormon, are you well versed in the comic? Jagger, I don't know if you're well versed in the original comic.
I'm not, but I saw it. I'm seeing it a lot more when I go to my comic book store. So
okay, Mormon says he's read all of it. Well, Mormon, if you're open to it, we could potentially have you as a guest to kind of touch on some of the. Wait, hold up. There's a Spider-Man Invincible crossover.
Wait, what?
Okay, we're gonna have to. We're gonna have to talk to you about that.
Let's spitball this one. This one may end up being a full episode, so we may save Invincible. I think next week we'll do we'll be doing episode 3 and any news that we can find.
Yeah. Okay, so
from what I understand, episode 3 is going to be pretty big. It's going to be like a pretty big thing because we're probably going to get that prison break scene, so we'll have to talk about that, break that down, and then whatever other Easter eggs we find, we can fill up a good bit of time with that.
Okay. So that's gonna be the plan. So next week we're gonna do comic book news and then cover episode 3, and then the following week we'll set some planning together. Mormon, I'll get in touch with you, and then the following week we can cover Invincible. By then, I believe there will be like 5 episodes out by then.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken.
And I'll have the time to actually catch up on that too, so I'll be able to watch it and understand what's going on.
There you go. So that about wraps it up for Comic Relief. If you're here, thank you for stopping by. If you're here on YouTube, thanks again for stopping by. If you're here on Twitch right now, stick around because we're going to jump into some Overwatch after this.
He is. I'm not. I'm jumping into my bed.
He's jumping into his bed. Yeah, thank you guys so much, and I will catch you all next week. If you're, like I said, if you're on Twitch right now, stick around because we're not done yet. Bye.
Bye.